This is The Clash, where the real world clashes with a true Christian worldview. Join former professional wrestler Chris Whaley, known as the Masked Saint, who is an author, pastor, and teacher that brings his wrestling skills into the squared circle and tackles real-life issues. Along with Jeff Dixon, best-selling author, internationally known teacher, leader, and pastor who is not afraid to tackle the tough issues of the world we live in. Together they form a tag team of wisdom in The Clash.
Welcome to The Clash. My name is Jeff Dixon. I'm joined by
Chris Whaley.
And we're going to spend a few minutes today with you and I think you're really going to enjoy this. This is officially, Chris, you ready for this?
Yeah.
The cartoon episode.
I know. I've been excited.
The cartoon episode. Yeah. We're going to talk today about cartoons that we remember, why it matters, but most importantly, as we always do in The Clash, we're going to take a Christian worldview, look through that lens and see how our culture clashes into that and what we can learn and take away. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
I think so too. I'm looking forward to it.
All right, but don't go away. Right after this break, we'll start the cartoon episode here on The Clash. Hi, Jeff Dixon. You might recognize me from The Clash, but that's not what I want to talk to you about. I want to invite you to visit a website. It's touchandchange.net. Touchandchange.net. That is the website for the ministry of the church at 434, where I am the pastor. Chris Whaley is one of our pastors on staff. And so while you're familiar with us, you may not be familiar with some of the resources that we have to offer that we think will help you in your journey of faith. And you can find all sorts of stuff there with brand new programming that's released every night at 7 o'clock. And you can join us for worship live each and every Sunday morning at 9 or 11:15. Or you can watch streaming reruns of those worship services. And you can go back all the way back to when I had dark hair. And so we would love for you to come and join us and be a part of the journey of faith with us at the Church at 434 at touchandchange.net. Welcome back. Thanks for not leaving and taking off during the break. They're here with us again, Chris. We're going to talk about cartoons.
Yeah.
Now, you and I come from an era long before streaming media, long before there was cable digital television. How many channels did you have growing up?
Three.
Did you have like a UHF channel in there too?
No.
Okay. No. So you just had three.
We had UHF whenever I became a teenager, I think. Okay. But, if the president was on, you didn't get to watch Flipper. Yeah, because he was on all three channels. Sure. Not so today. You can go to a lot of other channels.
Yes, it's endless viewing on demand, right? Yes, see, I'm from the same era. Now but I will say again, and maybe the Dixon family was a little high on the hog. Yeah. Maybe we were a little better off than the Whaley family. I don't know. We had 5 channels. We had the 3 network channels. We had 13 on the UHF dial and channel 35.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah,
you were highfalutin.
We really were. We were living like rich people, I think.
Wow.
Now, and that was the era we come from. So that means that we also bring memories from those shows that we used to watch, specifically cartoons.
Yeah, on Saturday morning.
Yeah. Yes.
Saturday started at 7 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what was your ritual on Saturday morning?
Ritual was get up, you got your breakfast real quick so you get in front of the TV and start, for me, it started with Tarzan. They showed Johnny Weissmuller. Oh, yeah. And then as soon as Tarzan was over, then the cartoons started.
Okay.
Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, and all those good ones. I mean, and Jeff, I got to tell you, I feel so sorry for kids today. I have grandkids, young grandkids. And when they come over and they watch some of that stuff on TV, it's like my granddaughter loves this thing called Bluey. Have you ever seen that?
I have.
Oh, it's horrible.
My favorite show. No, it's not. I'm just kidding.
Just terrible. They don't have cartoons today.
Yeah.
I mean, nothing like Tom and Jerry, man.
No, Tom and Jerry rocked it. Yeah.
Yeah, Tom and Jerry. Yeah, and Bugs Bunny. And I was thinking of, Roadrunner, Elmer Fudd, Sylvester, Pepe Le Pew, Foghorn Leghorn, Yosemite Sam, Tweety Bird.
Yeah.
Remember all those?
Oh, well, that's the Looney Tune lineup, right? I mean, yeah, that's them.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
And I was always, I was always disappointed that cartoons didn't play all day Saturday.
Yeah.
I thought
up until noon.
Yeah, by noon,
Right.
You're done. I mean,
Yeah.
and usually there was some kind of sporting event or or some kind of news show that came on. I hated that.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed when the cartoons would end.
But when I got home from school, and after you took your school clothes off and you put a pair of shorts on, and here in Florida, you'd have a pair of shorts and run around with no shoes. And but when I got home, Superman was on. Mm-hmm. And then after that, Huckleberry Hound Dog, right. Yogi Bear and Boo Boo. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, you got it in the afternoon, and of course, then the news came on and messed that up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, of the ones you can remember, mm-hmm. I was trying to think before we did the show, what would be my top 3 or 4? I mean, what were your favorite cartoons growing up as a kid? Yeah, and see if this connects with any of our viewers out there.
Well, of course, my all-time favorite was Tom and Jerry.
Okay.
I mean, I love Tom and Jerry. I love the Bugs Bunny, Roadrunner, and then on Saturday morning we had a show called Mighty Mouse. Remember that?
Oh, sure.
Oh yeah, I love Mighty Mouse. I love Superman, so Mighty Mouse. Yeah. What were yours?
I was a huge Scooby-Doo fan.
Oh,
I came up in the Scooby-Doo era.
Yep.
And so, for Shaggy and the gang and Scooby, and that was one of my favorites because it was a mystery.
Yeah.
So a lot of adventure and intrigue in that, and guest stars. I love Super Friends,
okay.
Which of course was the Justice League of America.
Right.
Superman, Batman crew.
Yeah.
I also, a classic one, and this was actually one that I saw in the afternoons, mm-hmm. though. Flintstones.
Oh, Flintstones. Meet the Flintstones.
Yeah. Fred Barney and Wilma, Betty,
oh,
the
yeah.
whole gang.
Oh, yeah.
And then one other one that won't surprise you. It only came along for a short period. But you got to remember, I'm a child of the 60s. So Star Trek,
uh-huh.
for one season, became an animated cartoon after it had been canceled back in the mid-60s, late 60s. Mm-hmm. And NBC had canceled it, and they brought all the original cast back to do the voices of the animated characters.
Oh, that's awesome.
And so those are gold to Star Trek fans, and I was one, even as a kid. Yeah. And so those were my top 4.
Yep. How about the Jetsons?
I like the Jetsons. Yeah,
I
like the Jetsons.
Casper the Ghost.
I watched Casper the Ghost. I like Casper the Ghost, and that kind of scared me a little bit because I was afraid of ghosts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't.
I like
Ghostbusters.
I like Bullwinkle and Rocky too, because I could do Bullwinkle and I could do Rocky. So I mean, I could do their voices. So
still.
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat. What, again? Yeah, that's pretty good, right?
And then followed by nothing up my sleeve, presto. Is that how it works?
Yep, ruffle up the sleeve. Yep.
Hopefully you guys do too. Think about this for a minute. Why is it? I mean, why do you remember them? Why do I remember them? Why do things like that resonate? I mean, they're nostalgic.
Yeah.
So why do they resonate, do you think, with people after years? I mean, this has been a long time since we were piling out on a Saturday morning to watch cartoons. Why do you still remember that? And the memories are good, right?
Yeah. Oh, great memories. It was just a different era. I mean, cartoons today are full-length dramas. Yeah, and it was just something to make you laugh. Yeah. You needed something to make you laugh, and the cartoons, man, they just it was just a special little world as a kid where you could get lost in a cartoon and not think about anything else and just laugh and have a good time.
Yeah, when you say that, it dawned on me as I was thinking about this episode for us. I mean, there was an emotional connection you had with these cartoons. I mean, as a kid, you're smart to know that these aren't real.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you also had that make-believe thing happening of, I wish they were.
Yeah.
And you're connected with the characters. I mean, I remember really caring about Shaggy and Scooby and wanting them to be okay when they were getting chased by whoever. That at the end, they're going to pull that mask off and and hear that I got away with it too. If we're for you darn kids and that dog or whatever they would say at the end.
And you have people telling you that some of them were like Alvin and the Chipmunks. I mean, I remember as a kid, they said, those chipmunks, they really do have chipmunks that talk and all. And I was like, what? And the guy was just,
Sure.
yeah. But anyway, for the longest time, I thought, hey, somewhere in the world, there's 3 chipmunks that sing.
Well, I think also somewhere in the in all that world of cartoon stuff too, there were some, obviously the writers and the producers of those things, there were some lessons they were trying to teach us. I mean, I think that's another thing. I mean, I think for kids, ultimately it became part of children's television programming and stuff like that. But there was some lesson teaching going on there.
Right.
And some of the better cartoons, I think maybe the most endearing cartoons, were pretty good at teaching life lessons. Maybe. When you watch a cartoon and when you're done with it, did you ever walk away going, that kind of made me think a little bit?
Yeah.
Did you ever do that as a kid?
Yeah,
I did.
of course.
I spent time doing that.
Yeah, and I can remember with my mom, her saying, "Now, what would make you say something like that?" And I'd say, "Well, Scooby-Doo said it. Must be right."
Ruh-roh, yeah. Yeah.
It did not impress her.
Yeah.
It did not.
Oh, no, sure, no. And then for a kid though, usually, I mean, most parents didn't watch cartoons with their kids. Some did, and some still watch cartoons. I still watch cartoons
I
from
do.
time to time. Yeah.
Hey, matter of fact, if you have Me TV, you know what? Do you have Me TV?
I have Me TV. Yeah.
Me TV on Saturday morning. Now I've got my grandkids for a week. My 2 youngest ones, my 8-year-old and my 6-year-old. I've already told them, hey, tomorrow morning we're watching Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner and Woody Woodpecker because it comes on Me TV on Saturday morning. And so I can't wait. I'll be in my pajamas sitting in the living room with my grandkids watching Bugs Bunny and Roadrunner and Woody Woodpecker.
Well, as an adult, there is something almost magical about watching a cartoon, but now as an adult with a cup of coffee, a pair of sweatpants, and kind of going back. The nostalgia effect is huge in that. Because,
It brings back memories.
It brings back so many memories. And hopefully for most kids, they're good memories and good times. I know for me they were. They were great times.
Well, I said something about the cartoons today. They actually they stink because they're not like they were when we were kids.
Sure.
Is there anything good today in the cartoon world? Because I have one. I want to tell you.
Oh, yeah, I have to really think about that. You kind of threw me a curve there because I'm not, I was, yes. I mean, I think the short answer would be yes. I'll have to come up with one in a minute.
Well, I'll give you one.
Okay, give me one.
Let me take the stress off.
Okay, take the stress off because we already did the worry episode. I don't need that.
They have you don't need that. They have a cartoon now called Bible Man. Did you know that? Yeah, Bible Man. My grandkids love Bible Man. And that's available, and it teaches kids great lessons, and it's a cartoon.
Well, I mean, I'm one of those guys there, and in fairness, I mean, my personality is, I live with the idea that all of life is a biblical illustration. I heard that for years. I think that most of the things that happen in life we can look at, and if you put on the right lens, take that Christian worldview, how do I need to see this? How do I need to react to this? Then that gives me a chance to react to it. And so I think cartoons are the same way. They've changed, no doubt about it. But I think as we think back, there was some stuff that we learned in those days, and probably some things we can learn today. And so we're going to come back after the break and kind of get spiritual as we talk about cartoons of all things. This is a bit of nostalgia in this episode, and we're going to take that journey with you. So don't go away. Come back after the break, and we'll try to animate the second part of the show.
All right.
Yeah. Well, Chris, I was just out walking around like I always do, carrying my books under my arm just like this. Not all of them, but some of them. Fan them out so people can see that I know words and I put them in books on paper.
There you go. You're smart.
I'm educated, all right? Educated. Yeah. But I was wondering, because I've written a few books, you've written a few books, you got this wrestling background. Yeah. We've got these people watching us. What if we did a Clash giveaway? Yeah. So you're thinking the same thing, right?
I did.
Okay. So I mean, let's not tell them what it is.
Okay.
But what could be included in that giveaway?
Could have Kingdom and Chaos, Key to the Kingdom, You could have Harold's Heavenly Christmas or the Masked Saint or Mr. President, or, hey, that's before gravity got a hold of it.
Look at that, man.
Yes, sir.
You know, and I bet, maybe in this prize pack or this extravaganza of gifts, there could be a autograph.
Absolutely. Everything you do and I do will be autographed.
Okay. So write to us at the email that shows up here on the screen right now. And next week, we will send you a prize pack if you win. Now, to pick that out, we'll just random drawing, right?
Random drawing.
Vote prize pack. We'll tell you who it's going to. Email us. Say you're interested. Say I want the prizes. Yeah. Send me the swag, and we'll do that.
Absolutely.
All right. From The Clash. Thanks for coming back and joining us for the second half of the soon-to-be famous cartoon episode. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure this is a classic. While you were gone during the break, I was sitting over here just pondering cartoons and really hankering to watch a few of them and thinking, that'd be nice right now.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you came back and didn't tune out and find some cartoons somewhere. I'm struck by the fact that, as a kid, I love to watch cartoons. I still do like to watch them. But, something about growing up and growing older, we lose some of the enthusiasm for moments like that. But I'm also remember that as a pastor, I've communicated this, I know you have as well, that we're called to have a childlike faith,
right,
not a childish faith.
Right.
And I think that sometimes being grown up, we get a little self-centered sometimes, and we get a little childish, and we let those things kind of go bye-bye. Doesn't mean we don't grow up, but we can grow up and still be childlike. And I think that's a spiritual thing, isn't it?
Oh, I think of that passage in Matthew 18 where, Jesus put a little child in his lap, and he said, unless you come as, one of these children, you can't enter the kingdom of heaven, which means that you got to have a childlike faith.
Yeah.
And what is a childlike faith?
I think a childlike faith involves just a ragged, dogged trust.
Yeah.
And a willingness to hope.
Right.
And believe,
right,
even before you can see it.
Right. Did you ever jump off of the pickup bed into your dad's arm because you knew he was going to catch you?
Well, we didn't have a pickup. So I mean, again, but you came from the southern part of Central Florida.
Right.
I was in the big middle of Florida, but I do remember jumping in my father's arms from various couches, assorted things.
You never doubted that he was going to catch you.
No,
because you had complete trust in your dad, and that's the same way with God. Our Heavenly Father's going to catch us in His arms.
I'm going to skate on thin theological ice here and say something that probably will just evoke. Well, if you're a good Pharisee out there, you're going to hate what I'm getting ready to say.
Okay.
Jesus would have watched cartoons.
I think so.
Slide on a
oh,
I think if Jerusalem would have had a cable network, Jesus would have been watching cartoons.
Oh yeah, because I think he loved to laugh.
I think he did.
I really did. He loved to laugh, and another thing, he loved children. Yeah, he loved children.
Well, I love it. I love it when people begin to understand that laughter on this side of heaven may be the most heavenly sound you ever hear. There's nothing like just a good, healthy, hearty, wholesome laugh.
Yeah.
To hear a kid laugh, that lights up the room.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
It kind of melts away a lot of the stuff that we get bogged down with in this thing called adulting.
Yeah.
And it gets, life's a little bit simpler back then.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that verse, Proverbs 22:6, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he's old, he'll not depart from it. So
remember, I think kids remember. They hold on to stuff.
Absolutely.
Lessons, and things that they learn in cartoons. I was thinking as we were getting ready for this episode about cartoons that I watched that are maybe I didn't watch them all as a kid, but as I got older, or maybe my kids watched them, that kind of hit my radar from time to time. And again, not probably not anything as current, but since we've kind of been nostalgic in this episode, and roll out some ideas. And you tell me if you remember these cartoons or not. Okay. Obviously, the Flintstones.
Oh yeah.
I know you watch Flintstones. Now,
Flintstones.
what's your takeaway from the Flintstones? If you were to say, okay, pastor, have a Christian worldview, What's one of the takeaways from the Flintstones?
It was just a regular family, Stone Age family.
No doubt.
Fred, he was kind of bumbling, but Wilma, she loved him in spite of it, and they had a great relationship with Fred and Wilma. He had a best friend, Barney, and Wilma had a best friend, Betty, and they had their little episodes and all, but they usually, had a happy ending, and they did the moral stuff, what was right, and when they did something wrong, they asked for forgiveness. So you can learn some great lessons from that.
Well, see, to me, that's a big takeaway. Because I think of the Flintstones, I think of Fred and Barney, that incredible friendship where sometimes they loved each other, and sometimes they seemed like they hated each other.
Yep.
They got into mischief and trouble, but at the end, they would always bring it back around somehow. It would land. They would be okay.
Right.
And so, relationships, right? I mean, for Christians, if we could learn to do relationships as well as Fred and Barney, man, we'd be a long way down the road toward being a lot better at relating to people.
Oh, boy.
But again, I remember those lessons as a kid. I already told you, I mentioned in the first segment, Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo. Yep.
Love Scooby-Doo, love the mystery of it.
Love it.
But as a Christian, for me, I mean, I don't know what your takeaway from a Scooby-Doo scenario is, but those were early illustrations of teamwork. Mm-hmm. I mean, the mystery gang and around the mystery machine, man, they were working together to solve them.
Right.
And they were figuring it out, and they were together getting to a conclusion that even though Shaggy and Scooby did their best to mess it up, they would also rescue it at the end. And the only reward that Scooby needed was a Scooby snack.
There you go, Scooby snack.
If life was that easy, wouldn't it be great?
Yeah. Yep. Just, well, it is with me. If my wife pats me on the head and rubs my head and says, "Good boy," that's a good day.
Yeah, well, there you go. Do you remember He-Man?
Oh, yeah, He-Man and She-Ra.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, my girls watched that when they were little.
Okay, sure. Yeah. Well, She-Ra was like one of the early Wonder Woman. She-Ra.
Yeah.
I mean, those were some of the early female heroines, right? On the cartoons.
Superheroes. Yeah.
He-Man, as I remember He-Man just a little bit, but I remember that was really a battle. That was always that good versus evil.
Yeah.
Because Skeletor was so mean and so nasty and scary looking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But He-Man always prevailed. Yeah. Always.
Well, and He-Man was one of those cartoons too that kind of made the transition into the toy world too, though.
Right.
Those figurines and stuff like that. I mean, they became big hits.
Oh yeah.
Some kids would play, with He-Man and Skeletor, and there was that mountain, Grayskull.
Yeah.
I think it was the name of the mountain.
Yeah.
And I remember that from.
You didn't want to take your kids to Walmart because they wanted to go down the toy aisle. And get a new He-Man, new She-Ra. Yeah.
Yeah. They must have sold boo-koodles of those things.
Oh yeah.
Here's one for you. DuckTales.
Ooh. Yeah. DuckTales. Yeah. My grandkids still love watching that. They've always got good lessons.
Well, I mean, what comes to mind when you think of DuckTales? I mean, as far as lessons that we could learn as followers.
Forgiveness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I think. I haven't watched them as in depth as you have.
I did research for this episode.
Yeah,
just so
I know that.
Yeah.
But I didn't bring up an old episode of DuckTales. So tell me.
Well, I always thought as a kid, as a young kid, that Scrooge McDuck was just a boring character. But in DuckTales, while he was cantankerous, he was pretty smart. Mm-hmm. And he got those three dumb ducks, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, to think and work together and use a little wisdom and teamwork. I mean, and they had to lean on. And Donald was just a wild card.
Yeah.
Because Donald is always just like a powder keg getting ready to go off.
Right.
So I really gained a great appreciation for Scrooge McDuck.
Yeah.
And one of the best lessons from DuckTales for me was the fact that this character I thought was a rat as a kid, I saw his value as I watched it with my girls as they kind of grew up.
Now, I did tell my girls, you want to be a leader or do you want to be a follower?
Yeah.
Yeah, you need to be the leader.
Yeah.
And so, I did redeem myself hopefully,
Yes.
with that.
You did. That's good. That's good. All right, here's one for you. Deep spiritual lesson. What can you tell me? Inspector Gadget.
Inspector Gadget. I don't know. You know, what kind of a spiritual lesson can you learn from Inspector Gadget? I don't know. I'm dumbfounded.
And you can see, I didn't give Chris any of these because I wanted him to have to hear them real time.
I'm thinking he's going to ask me about Bugs Bunny, and he's
Yeah, no, I know.
He's always got to throw me a curve. Yeah.
But Inspector Gadget, you know, to me, he was one of those guys that he always had the resources he needed to fix whatever problem.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the gimmick, right?
Yeah, that came out of his hat.
Yeah, it came out of his hat, wherever it was, and he was able to do it. But I think that sometimes as followers, we tend to forget that whatever scenario or situation we're in, God has promised to be with us, and He'll give us what we need.
I will never leave you nor forsake you.
And so, you know, He doesn't give us a gadget, but what He gives us is His presence, and I think that's kind of a big deal.
Right.
So, if we think about cartoons, I mean, we think about, you know, kind of looking back over the years, kids watch cartoons, learn lessons today. We've made the bold declarative statement that will ripple through theology forever that Jesus would have watched cartoons. But besides breaking that kind of new ground in this episode, let's give a little parenting advice, because obviously entertainment choices today are huge, and there's a lot more options than there were when you were a child, I was a child.
Right.
Again, we've already talked about we had 3 channels, 5 channels, whatever. Where do we help parents find what's good for your kids to watch today, and I mean, how do we help them along in that journey?
Well, I think you gotta do some research and some viewing. I'm real proud of my son-in-law, who has the 2 youngest ones. Before they watch anything, he's going to check it out. He's going to make sure that there's no innuendos in there. There's nothing in there that's, you know, not going to, you know, question the biblical faith. And so you got to do your homework as a parent.
And you know, I mean, as a pastor, you know this, I know this. Sadly, all parents don't do that.
Right. Right.
We make a blanket assumption that if this company has made it or this group has made it, it's got to be good.
Right.
You know, I would suggest don't ever
That's
trust.
not the case today.
No, don't trust a company like that. Don't trust anything that's got a particular brand on it. You know, I think checking it out, and I think being an engaged parent really goes a long way toward making sure that what your kids are watching are something that's going to be good, make them better people, entertain them. And entertainment is what it's about, and that's why kids watch. But also, you want it to teach the right things, because there's obviously, from our conversation, we took away ideas and thoughts from the cartoons that we watched as little kids, and it shaped us into the adults we are. You know, understanding your cartoons explains a whole lot about you.
Absolutely.
And probably about me. Well, look, thanks for taking a trip down memory lane with us. You know, I got to play Stump Chris here with some cartoon titles here, and that's okay. And hopefully, maybe it brought back a few memories for you. But Chris, thanks for being with me on this journey. It was fun to go down memory road with you.
Hey, you know, when you came up with the idea for a cartoon episode, I was like, what? And then the more I thought about it, hey, you did a good thing here. I mean, I love going down memory lane, and I think a lot of the parents and grandparents out there have enjoyed memory lane too.
Good deal.
Some of the cartoons.
Well, listen, we're got to get out of here because we're flat out of time, and they're going to kick us off the network if we don't wrap it up. So, Chris, take us home.
Don't forget, don't tap out.